Hello everyone, the fuel gauge on my scooter has stopped working. So far I don't know what is the cause of the breakdown, but for diagnostics, I need to remove the seat. I turn the ignition key, but there is no reaction at the fuel sensor. Next I need to pull out the gasoline float. The float is untwisted simply with a screwdriver and light blows of a hammer. Next I need to get to the chip. This is the connection from the sensor to the plastic connector. To do this I need to remove the side panel of the scooter body. I got to the trick. Now I disconnect the connections. Now I need to check the contacts with the multimeter, from the chip to the fuel sensor. I turn the ignition key on, set the multimeter to AC/DC 2000 amps. Now I use the multimeter probe to connect the yellow and green wires. I shorted it and you see, the multimeter display is blinking and the arrow at the top of the sensor has risen. This indicates that the wiring and the sensor itself are working properly. You can take a look at the sensor. Next, set the multimeter to a resistance of 2000 ohms. Check the contacts of the float chip, the resistance of the blue and green wires. We see that when the probes are shorted, the multimeter display does not react. This indicates that the fuel float is faulty. And this is the simplest diagnosis. We pull the fuel float wires and occasionally the sensor begins to react. I want to show the difference between the old and new fuel float. I set the multimeter to a resistance of 2000 ohms. First I check the old fuel float. I connect the green and blue-white wires with the probe. You see there is no reaction on the board. We take a new float, put it in the initial position, resistance 0.33. We begin to raise the float and the resistance increases. My new float is working. Now I install the fuel float in the tank. I stretch the wires and connect the chip. Now I turn on the ignition and the arrow shows a full tank. Thank you all for your attention. Like and subscribe to the channel. All the best. Goodbye.